As the agreed time was about to expire, Biwei narrowed his eyes, looked at Wang Lin, and silently nodded. He took one final deep breath and slowly looked around the valley before turning his gaze toward the east, as though he could see his distant hometown. Sadness filled his eyes before he gently closed them. The instant his eyes shut, the already dense yin energy within him erupted with terrifying intensity. Every piece of withered vegetation in the valley instantly exploded into dust. Crackling sounds echoed everywhere, and thick frost rapidly spread across the valley walls. A vast vortex made entirely of yin energy formed above Biwei's head, expanding and rotating faster and faster until it became a violent storm that engulfed the entire valley. Thick ice covered the ground, the cliffs, and every remaining plant. Even the subtle restriction sealing the entrance of the valley could no longer withstand the pressure and shattered apart. Outside the valley, rain poured heavily beneath continuous lightning and thunder. However, the valley itself seemed isolated from the outside world by an invisible barrier that completely blocked the rain, causing the water to flow down its surface. As the rain intensified, the barrier gradually became visible as a faint ghostly arc outlined by the falling rain. The increasingly violent yin energy eventually cracked the barrier open. The moment the first crack appeared, invisible yin energy surged through it with deafening crackling sounds. Before any raindrops could pass through the opening, they were instantly frozen solid. Wherever the yin energy spread into the sky, every raindrop it touched became ice, forming long chains of glittering frozen droplets that shone brilliantly whenever lightning illuminated the heavens. More cracks rapidly spread across the barrier, releasing greater quantities of yin energy and freezing even more rain. Finally, the barrier completely shattered, allowing an overwhelming tide of yin energy to flood outward. With the valley as its center, every raindrop within the surrounding region froze into ice within only a few breaths of time. Even Wang Lin, despite possessing an ancient god body, found the yin energy extremely oppressive and was forced to retreat several steps. Biwei remained seated as his long hair floated without wind and his robes fluttered violently. The yin energy inside his body reached its absolute peak, while dark blue ice rapidly spread over his body until it completely sealed him inside. The ice then condensed between his eyebrows into sharp thorn-like formations, revealing the same mysterious mark Wang Lin had previously observed inside Biwei's body. The mark continuously emitted ghostly flashes of light. Every flash caused Biwei unbearable pain while simultaneously drawing more yin energy into itself. As each pulse occurred, the dark blue ice surrounding Biwei became thicker, and his flesh gradually merged with the ice until they became one. Eventually, every last trace of yin energy within his body was absorbed into the mark. Everything below his neck had transformed into solid ice, while the mark between his eyebrows became blackish purple, containing an astonishing concentration of yin energy. Unable to endure the indescribable suffering any longer, Biwei released the final roar of his life. That roar contained all of his hatred toward the All-Seer, his resentment, helplessness, sorrow, lifelong struggle against fate, and even a trace of relief. Wang Lin was deeply shaken by the roar and instinctively retreated several more steps. He completely understood Biwei's intention. It was a final declaration of defiance against the All-Seer and against the destiny imposed upon him. Biwei's roar spread across tens of thousands of kilometers, though it was largely swallowed by the violent storm, thunder, and rain. Laughing madly, Biwei shouted that he was willing to exchange his worthless life for the chance to prove the All-Seer wrong just once, declaring that he would laugh in the underworld if he succeeded. As his laughter echoed, the mark between his eyebrows underwent another transformation. The immense yin energy compressed repeatedly inside the spinning vortex until a thunderous roar came from within it. At the center of the vortex, a tiny golden light suddenly appeared. All remaining yin energy rushed frantically toward this golden point until every trace of yin energy vanished, leaving behind only a single brilliant golden dot that slowly floated toward Wang Lin. Biwei's life force completely disappeared. His body remained seated as an eternal ice sculpture with a fierce expression forever frozen on his face, radiating powerful unwillingness to submit to fate. As the golden dot approached, Wang Lin sensed an overwhelming vitality and scorching heat completely opposite to the previous yin energy. He immediately recognized it as a sliver of extreme yang. Reaching out with his right hand, he carefully accepted it. At the very moment he did so, all of the dark blue ice throughout the valley melted at astonishing speed. Green grass rapidly sprouted from the earth, transforming the once frozen valley into a vibrant spring landscape. Outside the valley, every frozen raindrop melted and fell naturally once again, and all traces of the terrifying yin phenomenon disappeared as the world returned to normal. The instant Wang Lin's hand touched the sliver of extreme yang, the agreed time limit expired. At the Heavenly Fate sect, a peculiar mountain shaped like the three exposed tips of a gigantic buried trident stood amidst dense celestial spiritual energy and seven-colored rings of light. Resembling the celestial realm itself, the All-Seer sat calmly atop the central peak, dressed in white with his long white hair gently moving in the wind. Although aged, he radiated the aura of an immortal rather than someone approaching death. As the time limit ended, he slowly opened his eyes. Within them, the sun and moon appeared to revolve while countless clouds continuously shifted, making it seem as though the very flow of time existed inside his gaze. After silently observing the earth for a long while, he sighed and reflected that ordinary cultivators pursued longevity and wished to live as long as heaven and earth. Yet such longevity was merely an illusion because heaven and earth had always existed, making such a comparison meaningless. He declared that unlike others, he did not seek endless life. Instead, he desired for his own fate to become the fate of the heavens, for his own will to become the will of the heavens, and for his Tao to completely merge with the heavenly Tao. His gaze then shifted toward the distant Ghost Eye City. A strange light flashed within his eyes as he coldly muttered, "Wang Lin, you dare?" Without moving from his seat, he simply raised his right hand and casually pointed with his index finger. Instantly, outside planet Tian, a tremendous storm erupted as endless world origin energy from tens of thousands of kilometers around responded to his will and gathered at an unimaginable speed. A gigantic transparent finger over 10,000 feet long and 1,000 feet wide materialized in the sky. It continuously absorbed origin energy like a bottomless black hole until it became almost completely solid, with every fingerprint clearly visible like enormous mountain ranges and deep valleys. The colossal finger then slowly descended toward planet Tian. This was not the finger of an ancient god, but a supreme divine technique personally created by the All-Seer, one finger to pierce the heavenly fate. The All-Seer was one of the Alliance's elders and possessed terrifying strength. During his peak years, even esteemed Zan Bao greatly feared him and never dared to offend him lightly. Although he was not the strongest among the Alliance elders, even those who surpassed him in strength preferred not to become his enemy, indirectly proving just how formidable he was. Despite this, the All-Seer always kept a low profile, so very few outsiders truly understood his power. Outside planet Tian, a gigantic seven-colored finger slowly condensed and began pressing down toward the planet. Although its movement appeared slow, its actual speed was astonishing. It carried an overwhelming heavenly pressure that swept across the sky and descended upon the entire planet. Every cultivator on Tian felt an indescribable majesty descending from above. Before the finger itself reached the planet, the immense amount of origin energy gathered around it created expanding ripples that struck the planet first. The entire planet trembled violently as though an enormous force had entered its interior. Under the impact of the origin energy alone, parts of the land began collapsing, space twisted, and the world itself seemed to distort. When the giant finger finally touched the planet's atmosphere, a deafening roar echoed throughout the world. The atmosphere instantly collapsed beneath its pressure, releasing brilliant seven-colored light in every direction. The finger forcibly tore open a gigantic crack in the sky, and the crack continued expanding as the weather throughout the planet changed dramatically. Looking upward from the ground, it appeared as though the heavens themselves had been pierced open by the finger. Its destination was the valley located thousands of kilometers outside Ghost Eye City. Before the finger even landed, its pressure crushed the earth below. The ground continuously cracked apart, and every cultivator who had once believed themselves powerful immediately changed expression. None of them dared fly toward the valley to investigate. As the overwhelming pressure spread outward, their minds trembled uncontrollably, and all of them felt as though heaven and earth themselves were about to be destroyed. Above Ghost Eye City, rain clouds had originally covered the sky while thunder echoed continuously. However, as the giant finger descended, every cloud was forcibly pushed aside as though a curtain had been drawn open. Even the natural might of heaven seemed forced to yield before the descending finger. One thick dark cloud failed to retreat quickly enough and was struck by the ripples surrounding the finger. It exploded instantly, releasing an enormous amount of lightning that illuminated the entire sky. Those lightning bolts spread outward together with the ripples, creating an incomparably brilliant and unforgettable spectacle visible to everyone below. Thunder roared violently throughout the heavens. As the giant finger continued descending, it seemed as though the entire sky itself was collapsing. Inside the valley, Wang Lin stood motionless, staring at the slowly descending finger with an extremely grim expression. He immediately recognized the aura contained within it. It belonged to the All-Seer. Shocked by its power, Wang Lin wondered what kind of spell the All-Seer had cast. He held the extreme yang in his hand, and the instant he did so, the heaven-defying bead inside his origin soul suddenly trembled. There was no time to investigate this unexpected reaction. Wang Lin immediately stored the extreme yang back into his storage bag and focused entirely on the incoming attack. The enormous finger emitted dazzling seven-colored light and continued descending while the surrounding heavens and earth shook continuously. Cracks spread through space wherever it passed. An unimaginable pressure descended from above and completely locked onto Wang Lin alone. Recognizing that the attacker was indeed the All-Seer, Wang Lin frowned deeply. He reached into his storage bag and took out the crystal Qing Shui had once given him. That crystal contained 3 sealed uses of Qing Shui's Summon the Rain spell. Qing Shui had personally told Wang Lin that these 3 spells were extraordinary and should be reserved as a final life-saving trump card. Wang Lin had never used them, preserving them for the most desperate situation. Now, facing the All-Seer's devastating attack, Wang Lin realized that this was exactly the moment to use one of those 3 sealed spells. The giant finger continued pressing downward. Its terrifying pressure caused the ground beneath it to shatter repeatedly as deafening explosions echoed across the land. Even Ghost Eye City, located far from the valley, could not escape the effects of the attack. Large sections of the city's walls collapsed under the pressure, and countless cries of alarm echoed throughout the city. Meanwhile, far away from Tian, but still within its sphere of influence, lay the cultivation planet Dalu. The entire planet was occupied by a single sect known as the Dalu Sword Sect. Ling Tianao had spared no expense when establishing the sect. It covered hundreds of thousands of kilometers, making it vastly larger than the Heavenly Fate sect. The sect contained countless mountains rich in spiritual energy, numerous pavilions, and monumental towers placed at regular intervals throughout the territory. There were exactly 999 towers, arranged as though they formed an enormous formation. Among them stood one extraordinary tower unlike all the others. It was at least 10 times taller than every surrounding tower, towering into the skies so high that even observers from an immense distance could feel the immense pressure it radiated. At the summit of this colossal tower sat Sword Saint Ling Tianao. 4 origin swords revolved around him, forming a circular formation as they continuously flashed with brilliant light. An overwhelming sword intent spread from the tower, filling the entire planet Dalu with astonishing sword energy. At that moment, Ling Tianao suddenly opened his eyes. A cold gleam flashed within them while a smile appeared on his face. He remarked with amusement that it was truly interesting how many times a master had betrayed his own disciple, and that watching such moments involving the All-Seer was one of his favorite things. However, he also acknowledged that Wang Lin belonged to the Vermilion Bird series. Even the Alliance elders had to think carefully before openly attacking someone from the Vermilion Bird series because no one wished to provoke the 4 Divine sect, the former overlord of the brilliant Void Star system. After considering the situation, Ling Tianao decided not to interfere immediately. Instead, he resolved that if Wang Lin could survive a single spell from the All-Seer without dying, then he would personally step in to help him afterward, since causing trouble for the All-Seer was something he enjoyed immensely. As the All-Seer's enormous 7-colored finger descended, the valley where Wang Lin stood collapsed completely. The ground split apart, the valley shattered into countless fragments, and the stones were crushed into dust by the immense pressure. The dust could not even rise into the air and was instead forced outward with Wang Lin at the center, leaving only flattened ruins behind. 7 cultivators, including the Chen brothers, flew out of Ghost Eye City, shocked by the giant finger. They immediately activated the city's formation. A pillar of light erupted from the city's center, lifting the entire city into the sky as it attempted to flee south. However, The finger's pressure slowed its escape and covered the city with countless cracks. Although the old monsters of Ghost Eye City felt wrongfully caught in the disaster, none dared to complain because everyone recognized the finger as the spell of the true ruler of planet Tian Yun, the All-Seer. The Chen brothers suspected that the All-Seer intended to kill Wang Lin. Master Yi Chen, despite his fear, decided to approach, not to rescue Wang Lin but to witness the battle between a Nirvana Shatterer and a Nirvana Cleanser cultivator. Believing he would regret missing such a battle forever, the black-robed young lord of Ghost Eye City had the same idea and also advanced. While everyone else lacked the courage, standing calmly at the center of the ruined valley, Wang Lin remained beside Biwei's frozen body, which had not been damaged despite Biwei's death. The Summon the Rain crystal floated before Wang Lin, surrounded by a rotating vortex of water vapor. As the finger approached until even its fingerprint became visible, Wang Lin shouted, "Summon the rain!" A phantom of Qing Shui emerged behind Wang Lin from within the crystal. Qing Shui formed a seal and pointed toward the crystal, causing it to release an incomparably brilliant beam of light toward the descending finger. The light was so intense that mortals would die instantly from looking at it. While cultivators with insufficient cultivation would have their bodies dissipate, even Wang Lin's ancient god body felt pain in his eyes. Master Yi Chen also suffered intense pain before barely recovering by circulating his origin energy. While the black-robed city lord's weaker cultivation caused him to groan miserably. Retreat, consume numerous pills, and observe the battle only with his divine sense. As the crystal radiated its light, over 30% of it vanished, condensing into a single raindrop that instantly multiplied into countless raindrops. Qing Shui's phantom waved his sleeve, sending the rain toward the finger while enormous amounts of origin energy poured into every drop. The countless raindrops collided with the descending finger, creating earth-shaking explosions across planet Tian Yun. The attack briefly halted the finger, but the seven-colored light surrounding it destroyed the raindrops one after another, and the finger resumed its descent even faster. The remaining raindrops were destroyed as the finger struck the Summon the Rain crystal. Wang Lin immediately performed another seal and shouted, "Summon the rain!" The crystal exploded, and Qing Shui's phantom entered the shattered crystal, transforming into another wave of raindrops. This time, instead of remaining separate, all the raindrops merged into a single red raindrop containing a trace of G-realm power. It collided directly with the All-Seer spell, forming a spinning vortex that shattered the finger's seven-colored protective ripples. The shattered ripples transformed into seven-colored dragons that roared around the finger. But the red raindrop continued forward and struck the finger itself. Although the finger never stopped descending, a small red point appeared within it. The red point burrowed deeper, destroying everything in its path before erupting into a violent storm inside the finger. Despite this damage, the finger continued descending toward Wang Lin like it intended to crush an ant. Feeling the overwhelming pressure of the collapsing sky, Wang Lin realized that the All-Seer had attacked without even asking for the extreme yang, making him suspect there was another purpose behind the assault. Nevertheless, his fighting spirit remained undiminished. He took out the celestial realm fragment that Master Flamespark had awarded him for his great contributions to All Heaven. As the finger descended further, its pressure drove Wang Lin deeper into the collapsing earth. Refusing to yield, he activated the celestial realm fragment. It rapidly expanded into a massive continent that stretched endlessly, forming an enormous shield between Wang Lin and the descending finger. The finger struck the celestial realm fragment, producing a tremendous impact that shook all of planet Tian Yun. Massive cracks spread across the fragment, yet it did not collapse. As the finger lifted to strike again, the remaining power within the shattered Summon the Rain crystal suddenly erupted. Countless red rays burst from inside the finger, piercing it repeatedly and causing the immense origin energy within to rapidly leak away. The finger trembled as more and more red lights burst through it, appearing close to collapse. At that moment, Wang Lin stepped onto the celestial realm fragment. His eyes were filled with icy determination as he clenched his right hand into a fist and threw a punch. Wang Lin had spent a long time preparing this single punch. As he attacked, the origin energy inside his body completely fused with the power of the ancient god. The moment his fist shot forward, the surrounding world seemed to lose its color. Although his fist appeared insignificant compared to the enormous giant finger descending from the sky, The force released by his punch transformed into a violent storm that took the shape of a roaring dragon, charging directly toward the collapsing finger. The dragon-like force collided head-on with the giant finger, producing a deafening explosion. The impact threw Wang Lin backward across the celestial realm fragment. He was forced to retreat several steps, and every step left a deep footprint on the fragment. His body emitted continuous cracking sounds from the tremendous recoil. Despite being knocked back, Wang Lin's attack severely damaged the finger. The fingertip collapsed first, and countless red rays erupted from the damaged area until the entire finger was covered in crimson light, signaling that it had entered the final stage of destruction. Without giving the finger any chance to recover, Wang Lin abruptly stopped retreating, forcefully pushed off with his right foot, and charged forward again. He unleashed 4 consecutive punches, each one carrying the combined power of his ancient god body and his origin energy. Every punch landed directly on the giant finger. After enduring the 4 strikes, the finger finally exploded with a loud bang, completely disintegrating into countless strands of origin energy that scattered in every direction. The explosion filled the surroundings with dust and raging sandstorms. Meanwhile, at the Heavenly Fate sect, above the mountain peak surrounded by 7 colored rains, the All-Seer watched everything calmly. A strange light flashed in his eyes as he muttered that he had not expected Wang Lin to possess such a treasure. He then casually waved his right hand. A gust of wind immediately appeared and merged with the 7-colored light around him, transforming into a gigantic 7-colored wind dragon approximately 1,000 feet long. As the dragon flew through the sky, it generated an enormous storm, sending dust everywhere and forcing even the clouds to part before it. Its speed was astonishing, and it crossed the distance to Wang Lin almost instantly. Wang Lin's expression became even more serious as he examined the approaching dragon. He quickly realized that this was not merely a wind spell. The dragon contained the spirit of a genuine dragon, making it far more dangerous than an ordinary divine ability. Its overwhelming aura gave the impression that it could devour anything in its path. While facing the dragon, Wang Lin's thoughts rapidly turned toward the All-Seer's intentions. Throughout his life, Wang Lin had encountered countless powerful cultivators, but the All-Seer remained the only person whose thoughts and plans he could never understand. Hundreds of years had passed, yet that had not changed. He reflected on everything that had happened regarding the extreme yang. At first, he believed he had made the decision himself, but he now felt that every step had actually been arranged by the All-Seer. He questioned whether the All-Seer had truly made a mistake during his divination concerning the extreme yang. But the more he thought about it, the less he believed that possibility. Wang Lin realized he had fallen into a 2-layered trap. If he had refused to accept the extreme yang, a flaw would have appeared in his Tao heart because he would forever doubt his own decision. Since he had accepted it, however, he now felt that he had walked directly into the All-Seer's calculations. Either choice produced the same result. Regardless of what he did, the shadow of the All-Seer's seemingly infallible calculations would remain within his Tao heart. He further realized that Biwei had believed his own sudden decision could cause the All-Seer to make a mistake. However, Wang Lin now suspected that even Biwei's spontaneous action had already been foreseen by the All-Seer. Wang Lin carefully considered every possible solution. Throwing away the extreme yang would accomplish nothing, because doing so would merely deceive himself without escaping the trap. Returning the extreme yang to the All-Seer was even worse, because that would mean completely admitting defeat in their confrontation. If he intended to return it, there would have been no reason to accept it in the first place. Yet refusing it from the beginning would also have fulfilled the All-Seer's scheme. The more Wang Lin analyzed the situation, the more convinced he became that the extreme yang itself was only the opening move of a much larger plan. Just as the All-Seer had previously arranged everything involving Biwei, this incident was likely only the first step toward an even greater objective that Wang Lin still could not perceive. After much thought, Wang Lin reached one conclusion. The only way to escape this deadlock was to force the All-Seer to make a mistake in his calculations. Only if the supposedly perfect All-Seer failed even once would a flaw appear in his flawless image. That single flaw would become Wang Lin's opportunity to break free from the trap and find a path to survive. As these thoughts raced through his mind, the 7-colored wind dragon drew closer and closer. Its roar shook the heavens as the 7-colored light spread across the sky. Finally, the dragon descended directly toward Wang Lin, attempting to swallow him whole. A cold light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. If the dragon had been composed solely of divine wind, he knew he could not resist it. However, because it contained the spirit of a real dragon, he immediately remembered the mysterious crown that had once captured the golden-robed true dragon inside the void. Believing the crown could suppress this dragon spirit as well, Wang Lin reached toward his storage bag and prepared to take it out. At that exact moment, loud laughter echoed across the sky before Wang Lin could use the treasure. A vast sea of scarlet flames appeared in the distance, and within the flames emerged a ferocious crimson Qilin with brilliant eyes. Riding on the Qilin's back was the skinny old man known as Sword Saint Ling Tianao. 4 origin swords revolved around him continuously, releasing terrifying sword intent capable of piercing the heavens. The Qilin's fierce eyes immediately focused on the 7-colored wind dragon instead of Wang Lin. If not for Ling Tianao restraining it, the beast would already have charged into battle. Ling Tianao jumped down from the Qilin's back, looked toward the sky with a smile, and casually said to the All-Seer that what a coincidence it was. He remarked that he had merely happened to pass by, yet unexpectedly encountered the All-Seer punishing his disciple once again. After speaking, Ling Tianao released the Qilin. The divine beast roared loudly, causing the sea of flames to erupt before it rushed directly toward the 7-colored wind dragon. The Qilin and the dragon immediately became locked in fierce combat in the sky. The sudden arrival completely changed the situation. Wang Lin's eyes brightened as he quickly retreated several steps to avoid the battle. He respectfully clasped his hands toward Ling Tianao and greeted him as Senior Sword Saint. Ling Tianao looked meaningfully at Wang Lin. Admiration filled his eyes as he praised Wang Lin's cultivation, saying that only someone with remarkable strength could block the All-Seer's heaven fate-changing finger. The 7-colored wind dragon and the Qilin continued their fierce battle, creating endless thunderous explosions that shook the world. The Qilin's sea of flames grew even stronger as the wind fed the fire, while the wind dragon, being incorporeal, instantly reformed every time its body was destroyed, making both beasts evenly matched with combat power comparable to 2 peak cultivators. Standing upon the celestial fragment, Wang Lin used it as protection while calmly responding to Ling Tianao's praise. He claimed he had no idea why the All-Seer wanted to kill him. Ling Tianao remarked that he had witnessed such events many times before. But before he could finish, the All-Seer's ancient voice echoed throughout the world. The All-Seer warned Ling Tianao not to interfere in the heavenly fate sect's affairs and demanded he leave within 3 breaths. Otherwise he would personally force him away. Ling Tianao refused, openly challenging the All-Seer to battle. Wang Lin carefully observed the exchange and reflected on a long-standing question. Although Ling Tianao was much stronger than Blood Ancestor, he was still vastly inferior to Master Flamespark, Qing Shui, and especially the All-Seer. Yet Ling Tianao had opposed the All-Seer for tens of thousands of years. While the All-Seer had repeatedly tolerated him, Wang Lin realized there had to be a hidden secret between them. The All-Seer accused Ling Tianao of breaking their agreement. As his voice spread, daylight vanished and the rising sun was swallowed by darkness. Ling Tianao immediately released monstrous sword energy from his origin swords, illuminating the world again and creating a twilight-like scene. At that moment, a lonely yet arrogant gray-robed figure slowly emerged from the horizon. Wang Lin immediately recognized him as the gray-robed All-Seer who had once taught him the celestial slaughter art. The gray-robed All-Seer raised his hand and performed a mysterious technique that gathered the surrounding darkness itself into his palm. Wang Lin realized the All-Seer was not controlling darkness directly but absorbing all light. The darkness condensed into a narrow black sword. Without exchanging further words, the gray-robed All-Seer swung the sword, instantly summoning 10 strands of genuine celestial slaughter energy. These were not incomplete slaughter energies like Wang Lin's, but true slaughter energies refined from cultivators who had each cultivated more than 1 million strands of slaughter energy. Seeing the 10 genuine slaughter energies, Wang Lin's expression darkened as he realized that, had he not discovered the flaw in the celestial slaughter art long ago, he would have become another strand of slaughter energy himself. This realization triggered an important insight. He recalled that the All-Seer had originally intended to manipulate him through the celestial slaughter art. However, in the demon spirit land, the ancient demon had helped him discover its flaw, disrupting the All-Seer's perfect scheme. Later, the scattered devil interfered again, allowing Wang Lin to see through the karma behind the technique and decisively abandon the slaughter energy. That had been the first time the All-Seer's calculations failed. Because of that mistake, although the All-Seer had foreseen Wang Lin's return, he had failed to calculate Wang Lin's true cultivation level. Wang Lin concluded that the seemingly flawless All-Seer was no longer infallible. Since he had made one mistake, he could make another, meaning the current deadlock was not impossible to overcome. The gray-robed All-Seer remained expressionless as the 10 strands of slaughter energy flew toward Ling Tianao. Ling Tianao responded by shouting a technique. Sacrifice. Hole. Break. Break second style. The blade on the boy's back. His 4 origin swords merged into one, and from the fused sword energy emerged a 7 or 8-year-old boy carrying a large serpentine purple sword that emitted immense celestial spiritual energy and vaguely resembled a dragon. Wang Lin immediately recognized it as the Serpentine Rain Celestial Sword, one of the 4 separated rain celestial swords that Ling Tianao had obtained. The boy charged toward the gray-robed All-Seer, and the Serpentine Rain Celestial Sword shot forward to intercept the 10 strands of slaughter energy. The sword shone brilliantly as it transformed into a giant python that roared, exhaled a powerful storm, and surged toward the incoming attack. As the slaughter energies collided with the python's storm, an unexpected transformation occurred. The 10 strands of slaughter energy each became a different figure, men and women, young and old, with ferocious expressions, bloodshot eyes, and overwhelming killing intent. Each figure unleashed at least 1 million strands of slaughter energy, causing countless strands to fill the sky until it was completely covered. The whistling slaughter energy overwhelmed every other sound and aura in the world. Witnessing this terrifying scene, Wang Lin's face turned slightly pale. Having cultivated the celestial slaughter art himself, he understood better than anyone the terrifying power contained within these countless strands of genuine slaughter energy. Wang Lin retreated while the celestial realm fragment spun rapidly around him, forming a vortex that blocked the incoming slaughter energy. Every collision echoed loudly as countless strands of slaughter energy struck the fragment. Observing that the gray-robed All-Seer was not fighting with his full strength, Wang Lin searched for a way to escape the trap. He recalled that when he had absorbed a sliver of extreme yang, the heaven-defying bead had reacted. After completing the 5 elements, the bead's elemental symbols had transformed into yin and yang. Wang Lin realized the bead now required yin and yang, and that the extreme yang perfectly suited its needs. He concluded that the All-Seer could not foresee the existence of the heaven-defying bead or its ability to absorb extreme yang, creating a flaw in the All-Seer's calculations that could allow Wang Lin to break free. Confident that even powerful cultivators, including a mysterious third-step cultivator, had never detected the bead, Wang Lin believed the All-Seer would also fail to discover it. Ling Tianao had come not to help Wang Lin but because he enjoyed disrupting the All-Seer's plans. Suspecting Wang Lin held great importance to the All-Seer, he became even more determined to interfere. Refusing to back down, Ling Tianao used the 3rd style of his sword art, sacrificing the sword spirit. The boy formed from sword energy landed on the serpentine celestial sword, released a piercing scream that became sword energy, and then dissolved into green mist, sacrificing himself to strengthen the sword. Empowered by the sacrifice, the serpentine celestial sword erupted with overwhelming sword energy that swept through the battlefield, destroying large amounts of slaughter energy and filling the world with a vortex of sword intent. The gray-robed All-Seer calmly acknowledged Ling Tianao's improved sword cultivation and declared that if Ling Tianao could withstand his next attack, he would no longer interfere in the battle between Ling Tianao and the real All-Seer. The sky turned black as he gathered millions of strands of slaughter energy, each representing a life, into a small crimson slaughter sword. With a casual wave, he sent it flying toward the serpentine celestial sword. The 2 swords accelerated until they met, stopping 7 inches apart. Their sword energies clashed violently within the small gap, producing endless explosions, lightning, and terrifying power without the blades physically touching. The gray-robed All-Seer praised Ling Tianao's increased cultivation but warned that it was still insufficient. Ling Tianao declared that he had devoted himself entirely to the Tao of the sword and recently comprehended the law of swords. He questioned why the gray-robed All-Seer had chosen to serve the real All-Seer, believing this meant abandoning their former friendship. Receiving no reply, Ling Tianao revealed his ultimate technique. A crack opened between his eyebrows, releasing black light that enveloped him, declaring that his origin soul had been refined into a sword spirit and his flesh into a sword. He closed his eyes as a sword-shaped origin soul emerged from his forehead. This sword, refined throughout his lifetime, caused every sword on planet Tian to tremble in reverence. It merged with the serpentine celestial sword, reducing the distance between the two opposing swords from 7 inches to 3 inches and tearing a crack across the sky. For the first time, the gray-robed All-Seer's expression changed. Impressed by Ling Tian's achievement, he announced that he would use 70% of his power. Releasing a ferocious roar, he unleashed countless strands of slaughter energy from his body, which fused with the slaughter sword and greatly increased its strength. The remaining 3-inch gap disappeared as the two swords finally collided directly. At that instant, 7-colored light filled the dark sky and transported Wang Lin, Ling Tian, and the gray-robed All-Seer into outer space above planet Tian. The two swords continued clashing in space, creating a massive storm. After repeated collisions, the slaughter sword finally shattered into countless strands of slaughter energy that dispersed before returning to the gray-robed All-Seer. The serpentine celestial sword also suffered damage, developing a crack before retreating. After 3 breaths, the remaining slaughter energy dissipated completely. Smiling, the gray-robed All-Seer declared that he would no longer interfere with Ling Tian's affairs and returned toward planet Tian. As the damaged serpentine celestial sword retreated, Ling Tian emerged from the crack in the blade and looked into the sky with a sneer. Calling out the real All-Seer, 7-colored light condensed into an illusory figure of the All-Seer, who calmly appeared and told Ling Tian that although they had already fought, Ling Tian had no reason to interfere with the affairs of the Heavenly Fate sect.